Hey guys, what is up? This is Matthew Davis, me once again. Welcome back to another movie review, aka After I Saw. This time it's going to be on Blue Beetle. Now, Blue Beetle stars Zolo. I have no idea how to pronounce his last name, but I'm just going to call him Zolo. But anyways, he is best known for his role in Cobra Kai, which is something I've never seen before. In this film, he plays Jamie, a man returning home after graduation, and from there he seeks out his purpose on what exactly he wants to do in his life. And when he stumbles across this little blue pendant, and when it gets inside of his body, causing him to get a gigantic suit of armor and becoming a superhero, then it's pretty much clear what his purpose in life is, even though it's not really something that he fully asked to be a part of. This is a new film by DC, and this is based off a comic book character that I know absolutely nothing about. It's crazy knowing how I know these characters once a movie about them has been made. It's fine because there are so many superhero movies based off characters that I am not fully aware of, because I don't really read comic books or anything like that. There were two movies that came out last year about comic book characters that I knew absolutely nothing about. Of course, those films being Black Adam and... You know what, I'm just going to pretend that it was just Black Adam. Because Black Adam wasn't a great film, but it is honestly a legendary film compared to that other film that came out. The one that came out on April Fool's Day, because that movie just felt like a completely expensive joke that... well, you get the point. It was awful. Now, this is the start of James Gunn's DCU, and yeah, a lot of people have still been criticizing James Gunn because he was taking over the DCU. But in terms of the start of a new era, this one I can say, well, I'm going to be honest. Like the first 30 minutes, I just thought the film was just like, I didn't really like a whole lot of what was going on. I mean, the family stuff, it was nice and all, but I just felt like the movie just dragged on way too long. Like, it's 2 hours long, but there are often times where I just felt like it was, like, way longer than it needed to be. Like, even Oppenheimer didn't feel like it dragged on way too long. I felt like that movie just went by really quickly. But the movie, I could say, does get better when Zolo does manage to get his powers for the very first time. And while it doesn't have a whole lot of action, like, the action stuff doesn't, like, fully happen until after the first 30 minutes. And it gets even more action-packed once it gets later down the line, because it focuses a lot more on the family issues that are going on with Jamie and his family. I mean, he meets up with this one girl who does have a purpose. I mean, she's the one who gave him the pendant. She wants him to protect it, but doesn't want her to, like, look at it. But what do you think was going to happen? Like, the biggest thing I can say is that Zolo is phenomenal in the movie. He definitely manages to give a really good performance, and he's very likable in the film, and the family too. I can say the family stuff is something that I enjoyed watching more on screen than the action bit, because while the action can be entertaining, yeah, it doesn't mean it looks completely convincing. But I feel like it's something we're going to have to get used to, because the costume, while it looks really cool, you can definitely tell a lot of computer generation went into it, but I can say it's not as bad as whatever happened to Green Lantern in 2011. But really, though, the movie just comes off as kind of basic, and it has some familiarities to other origin story movies. I didn't really expect this film to try anything new to the origin story superhero genre. It's just one that it's very basic, and it has stuff that we have seen before in other films, and if I get into it, there will be spoilers, but it reminds me vaguely of other origin stories that have done it far better than this film. But in terms of its action, it's there, and it can be entertaining. I feel like the last act was probably the best part when it came to the action, and I feel like the second act of the movie definitely saves this entire thing, because the first act is very slow, but I get that it's supposed to put you in, like, the position of how the characters are going to be in the film and what exactly there is to expect. Some of it's predictable, some of it was actually quite surprising. But in terms of an overall origin story, it's a very basic one, and in terms of what it's going for, it doesn't really have the best story, but I can't really say that it was flat out bad. I mean, it's basic. That's the best way to describe this whole thing. It's a basic origin story with a basic plot where I get where it was trying to go for, but it doesn't really do anything new or set anything absolutely groundbreaking to this new world of the James Gunn DCU, and that kind of worries me about what's going to happen when we do get more of the James Gunn DCU. I mean, the Snyder DCU isn't even supposed to be done yet. I think there's supposed to be like 2 movies left in that era, but in terms of the start of this era, it's not bad, actually. I know I've been kind of negative about the film, but there are stuff that I do like. In terms of its humor, it can be a bit awkward in terms of its dialogue, but really when it comes to the humor, I feel like George Lopez is the show stealer when it came to its humor. It's been a while since George Lopez has really done anything big, hasn't he? But yeah, he was by far the funniest part of the entire thing. And it's nice to see him in later films because he was so bigger, with the George Lopez show and all that. So just seeing him in here, it definitely made most of the movie. And I can't say, while it does drag on a little too much and it feels like it's way longer than it needs to be, it wasn't necessarily a boring film. This is just a film that I feel like is just made mainly because every superhero needs to have an origin story. I feel like the way they did it here, it's a nice enough try. And I can say I did enjoy most of my time in terms of the way the emotion played out and Zolo's terrific performance and the action that mostly does succeed at being entertaining, but also some of it being very poorly CG. But The Flash had a lot of really bad CGI, and I actually enjoyed The Flash a bit more than this film, but I can't necessarily say I had a bad time. I might have been pretty negative about most of the film, but I did find myself enjoying it mostly. I mean, the second act, I feel like, saves the entire thing with its emotion and its epic conclusion, though it does have a post-credit scene, which may indicate that there might be more, but it's just going to depend because DC hasn't been doing super well financially this year. But in the end, guys, Blue Beetle, it's a nice start. It's a fine start for James Gunn's cinematic universe, though I really hope it does tend to get better from here because it's a very basic origin story that has been done countless times. I feel like if it came out just a bit earlier, the film would have been far more better and it would have been far more memorable. I can't really say this is a film that I would see myself rewatching, but I can say that I did enjoy my time with the film. I saw it in IMAX, so yeah. Its heart and its great performances definitely saved the film for me. And it's not like the film was a complete snore fest. There are some stuff about the movie that I do feel like worked. Some of it definitely not, but in terms of a start for a new era of a cinematic universe, it's a fine one, and I'm just crossing my fingers that it does tend to get better from here. While I was watching the movie, I was all like, yeah, this is more than likely just going to get a 3, but I'm giving it that extra boost just for the fact that the second half of the movie managed to save most of this whole thing for me. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Gran Turismo is coming out, and I am going to be seeing that, obviously. It's kind of weird how they just delayed that 2 weeks before, but whatever. It's about to come out. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Word out.